What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Should have like and sub, and let's get into this. We have been on quite the journey with this show, and thankfully, we've had each other to share it. I've also thankfully been able to meet a lot of my heroes. One of them, I just did, Gary on Open Bar. He had some feelings on this. Now, we did not get to talk a huge amount about this specific episode because thankfully he was very magnanimous. Let Snarky J and Star Wars Theory and I grieve together. So it will be nice now to see once and for all how he felt about that last episode, because there's one particular point that I want to see his take on, because the whole Saul is a pedo thing, I get it. It is funny to do the whole Jedi or groomers thing. I really didn't get that from the episode. And so Gary had a point of, he's like, he didn't actually think that's what it was, but it doesn't look all that great. So I'd like to see how he explains it here. And yeah, shout out. It is such an odd experience to be in one of the worst timelines, but getting to meet all your heroes in them. I don't know how to square that away, but I digress.
She ignites the lightsaber and backs him against the mouth of the cave, holding it to his throat. Her anguished eyes stare at him unfocused. Pressed against him, she meets his sympathetic gaze. He gently takes hold of her arm. The red blade.
That audio descriptions for the seeing impaired, gold trove of things. Yeah.
Still throbbing right in front of his throat. Osha gazes deeply into his eyes.
How does it feel?
Nerdrotic.
How does that feel, baby?
.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million hellions and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. The Force is female has come full cycle. Back on April 22nd of 2020, when it was announced that former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland, will be heading a Star Wars project.
I just try to treat everything as if we're on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Many of us at the time speculated it would be an intersectional feminist fever dream, focusing more on identity politics than actually crafting a story.
Yeah.
For a brief moment, I heard it was about the Sith, and I was like, oh, that'll be cool. And then we heard who it was by and what it really was about.
Yes.
Devolving into mystery box bullshit, which is a cheap way of circumventing characterization.
Oh my God, yeah. There's their sabers. God, they look horrible.
Circumventing.
They don't look much different than that on screen. We were talking about just how notably lesser this is, and like, so I told Star Wars series, like, bro, like, and no joke, and not even a plug, well, sort of a plug, his lightsabers look more screen accurate without any manipulation than theirs do with the whatever the hell After Effect they were doing, because it is not a good one. I think even shout out to Script Doctor on Film Threat on Mondays on Versus was saying that the actual lightsaber effect of the way they used to look in the prequels and original trilogy is still owned by George, and they have to pay royalties every time they use it, which is why they've switched it now, and you see a lot more sparks and a different type of effect. It's literally Disney Star Wars.
In characterization and narrative, with the added bonus of on-brand Disney Star Wars lore destruction, jingling key cameos, and fan attacks. And now, well over 4 years later, it's been confirmed. The Acolyte is indeed an intersectional feminist fever dream that focused more on identity politics rather than crafting a story that devolved into mystery box bullshit, which circumvented characterization and narrative, with a healthy serving of that on-brand Disney.
Yeah, Keanu Monday, Kiadi Mundi. But Keanu Monday for all you butter dish lovers.
Star Wars lore destruction, key jingling cameos, and fan attacks.
And they used the Last Jedi puppet, not the High Republic look, meaning they would have had to create something new.
So let's get to episode 8 of The Acolyte, called The Acolyte. Previously on The Acolyte.
And the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. It depends on what side you're standing on.
Hashtag Yordhorde.
Like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of.
That was Christina Ariel next to her. She was hired to run this whole thing. Bunch of white people bad, racist quotes. Much like Justina Ireland, who made the High Republic characters like Vanestra Rowe, played by Leslie Headland's wife. Yeah, same comments that Disney defended.
Woman-centered figure.
People have told me that it's the gayest Star Wars, and I'm frankly into it.
I carried them. I created them.
It's pretty gay, let's be honest. But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying.
You should just shut up.
It's just like,
but that is
the beauty of this story.
Are you people f***ing retarded?
But the Jedi like you might call me
Sith.
Oh, I hated the way he said it too. Might call me. I'm still not convinced. I'm still not convinced he's a Sith. He's just a dark side user. Plagueis was just hiding on that island, I guess.
I can't help but feel partially responsible.
I think it's canon that R2D2 is a lesbian.
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
I dropped a diss track. That's what I heard.
Again, and much like the show, we've had more fun memeing on it, and the Ryan Kinnell overlaid. Shout out to Perry Chan and the Danky videos. I mean, hey,
The gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable mark.
I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you get it. We've had more fun memeing on it, and probably had more collected views and made more money than Disney has on whatever the hell this is that they have. Like, because that's all we have left is just the jokes, the memes. It's collective group therapy. That I hope you were there for that 7-hour plus funeral for Star Wars that we had on Film Threat. God, what a glorious, I mean, it's sad, but what a glorious coming together of fans to just, to acknowledge that Star Wars is still alive in the expanded universe, but that Disney Star Wars, and at least any for the future, it's gone. Because that's all this is left. It's just the memes.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
You get nauseous when you travel through hyperspace? I don't get sick. I find it unsettling.
And that's from the High Republic book series. It's an in-joke in them. That's why they kept adding it.
We open up directly following the events of episode 6, which was followed by the flashback episode 7, which was essentially.
By the way, shout out to Snarky J, who I just met on Open Bar, but she mentioned it there, and I just saw it. When Osha puts on that mask, you can see the mask bend because it's not actual mask, it's silicone on the bottom. Look at the bottom. Ah, bended. Thought we wouldn't know it bent. Yeah. Shout out Snarky.
We open up directly following the events of episode 6, which was followed by the flashback episode 7, which was essentially a repeat of the flashback episode 3. We last saw a diverse non-binary female protagonist putting on a helmet. And wouldn't you know it, she has a vision of diverse non-binary antagonist who was briefly a protagonist, who is now back to being an antagonist, killing that guy from Squid Game, and she knows where they'll be later in the episode.
How convenient.
And because The Acolyte is somewhere between a CW show and the worst kind of 14-year-old girl fan fiction written as a coloring book, Little Wang, who wants to kill both the guy from Squid Game and the diverse non-binary antagonist who's briefly a protagonist who's now back to being an antagonist, and diverse non-binary protagonist who wants to stop diverse non-binary antagonist who is briefly a protagonist who's now back to being an antagonist from killing that guy from Squid Game, decide to go together in the same ship.
Did you get all that? Yeah, by the way, as someone who's not like standing the show, but there's plenty of things to be upset about, right? So like let's not talk shit on the things that are canonly correct. So like I'm someone pointing out the cortosis and other things. There's no saving the explanations for a lot of the decisions here. This is just bad writing across the board.
With what ship? I'm taking mine.
I'm going where exactly? I've seen where they are.
So we go together and see who gets to her first.
And you may or may not remember that the last time we saw a diverse non-binary antagonist who was briefly a protagonist who's now back to being an antagonist, and that guy from Squid Game, he had her restrained on a bed. Right, what you know, Leslie. Anyway, that guy from Squid Game was finally going to reveal the truth that he had been teasing all season.
I'll explain everything. I'll explain. It's time for me to face the High Council to tell everything.
Everything?
So you're going to listen.
And then doesn't actually explain it correctly at all.
You and Osha are not twins. You're not even sisters. You're...
Good thing we watched the last episode, which was essentially a rehash of the third episode, which basically confirmed that diverse non-binary antagonist who was briefly a protagonist, who's now back to being an antagonist, set a fire in the highly flammable stones.
You look at the ground. You can see, this is the one that bothered me. Look, it's a futuristic space oil, whatever. I know it's bad and lazy, but look at it spread on the ground.
Structure. Look.
It's even a different, you could see whatever the material is, it spreads.
killing the remaining coven
that's dumb, but yeah.
of lesbian space witches that Moss Windu didn't kill when they possessed Kelnaka. And Soul can't help it if he's retarded and some lesbian space witch rematerialized around his lightsaber. What he is guilty of is having inappropriate connections to a youngling. But as it goes with mystery box storytelling, the audience has to wait for the uninteresting main character or characters to catch up with them. You know, it's too bad the Jedi Master Soul didn't think to remove the plot convenience from his captive. And the diverse non-binary antagonist, who was briefly a protagonist, who's back to being an antagonist, gets away. It's barely an inconvenience. Nice helmet, by the way.
Yeah, it it has the rebellion sign on it. It shouldn't. And as pointed out by Theory, and we all said, like, yeah, he could have used the Force to pull her back, just like he could have saved them on the bridge.
But when that guy from Squid Game has diverse non-binary antagonist, who was briefly a protagonist, who's now an antagonist in his sights, Space Beaver sabotages him.
Whoop-de-doo.
Pronoun Beaver, and I hate this goddamn thing.
What does it all mean, Basil?
Diverse non-binary protagonist had the aforementioned vision and took Lil Wang with her. Diverse non-binary antagonist, who was briefly a protagonist, who's back to being an antagonist, crashes relatively close to the highly flammable stone structure. And that guy from Squid Game turns on his transponder, and the Jedi receive it. But there is one small scene worth mentioning, because it wouldn't be an episode of The Acolyte without Leslie Headland taking George Lucas's lore to Harvey's couch. Oh, I've used that one too much already. How about Dave Filoni taking
Darth Felonious
George Lucas's lore to the doghouse? Because it happened, folks. They plagueist.
I can't wait until Theory does, and I begged him to do this. I can't wait until he does a skit on this, because, oh dear God, it's calling for one, all creepy and shit around the corner. Yeah, they did the math according to the books of the lore that they're stealing. That's the thing. They say legends don't count, and then they steal from it. So it does count when they steal from it. Plagueis, much like Ki-Adi-Mundi shouldn't be born yet. Plagueis would be like 10, and in this case, he looks all ready to be 100 something, and yeah, and now we all agree. So now he gets the idea for creating life with the Force from the Force Witches for watching all of this. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
You may think it's about the Sith Lord being betrayed and killed by his apprentice Palpatine, but in truth, he was arrested for stalking after being caught watching a young Asian man sleep in a cave on an island. At this point, Disney Analytics dictates there needs to be some action and lightsabers. And after diverse non-binary protagonist is somehow able to hotwire a door in a combustible stone structure where 16 years previous the generators blew up, we get Smilo Ren versus that guy from Squid Game in Crouching Patriarchy and Hidden Misogyny.
Yeah, I wanted to like it, but damn.
Liu Kang. Liu Kang. Fight!
And I can already tell Shadversity, he's going to do a breakdown of this, and just you could see all the slow motion of where they're swinging at the blade, or you know, nowhere they're not swinging at the actual center line of the target.
Intercut with the matchup 5s and 10s of people were waiting for, when diverse non-binary antagonist, who was previously a protagonist who's now back to being an antagonist, tells diverse non-binary protagonist that that guy from Squid Game killed their mom. It leads to a Disney Star Wars first, some sister-on-sister action, and it went down something like this. But in all seriousness, we did almost get some scissoring. And Smilo Ren pulled out his Little Wang. That guy from Squid Game gets the best of Smilo Ren, and then we get a double heel turn. And
by the way, no one mentioned this. Why didn't Smilo wear his Cortosis gauntlet? Why did he just bring the helmet?
I hope you're all keeping track at home, because quite frankly, I'm having trouble. Diverse non-binary antagonist, who was previously a protagonist, who's now back to being an antagonist, saves Smilo Ren from that guy from Squid Game. This is the point where Disney Analytics dictates it's time to repurpose something from the real Star Wars.
Your hate has made you powerful. Fulfill your destiny. Never.
Oh, screw that. This is better.
Good day. Feel your anger. This is the source of your pain.
And then just a blank ass expression. You don't actually feel the anger and the rage.
Strike him down, and your journey will be complete.
No.
So now it's diverse non-binary protagonist who was formerly an antagonist, who was formerly a protagonist, who was formerly an antagonist.
But wait!
So confused.
Then diverse non-binary protagonist shows up, and that guy from Squid Game admits he killed her mom.
And you killed her. You killed our mother.
And doesn't say she was turning into a monster. Oh, sure. Your mother was turning into a bat demon.
Yes, I did.
Is that true?
Turning diverse non-binary protagonist into, you guessed it, diverse non-binary antagonist who was formerly a protagonist.
And no, this isn't the first choke or forced grip or forced crush or whatever you guys want to call it. Yeah, there's a difference between forced choke and forced. It's amount of pressure, giggity. It's not. It's been used many a times, but the fact that he's just like, okay, it's okay, and just lets himself be choked out, insert all the David Carradine jokes.
And this brings us to what is undoubtedly a big W for DEI, a Disney Star Wars milestone, the first Black female to identify as non-binary to force choke an Asian man.
Yeah, don't look up the statistics on who's actually responsible for a lot of the Asian hate crimes. It's spoiler, it's not white people.
Whose last words are, I love you.
I did everything because I love.
Okay, and everyone's taking this as the pedo and that he's in love with her. I always saw that he's clearly overattached, and it was never that. It was a father-daughter, master-apprentice. Like, I think he genuinely cared for her, and he probably should have just gone on and had a family and had his own daughter instead of being in the Jedi, because he's a horrible Jedi.
Disney, I'm sure you're aware you have a bit of a reputation right now with the way your company acts and what you put into your scripts. And with something like this, it's really hard to argue that. Anyway, that guy from Squid Game says it's okay to kill him now.
Stop talking.
I better use my strong hand.
Painful.
Fatality.
Then diverse non-binary protest.
It's not quite like Last of Us, because obviously we didn't have the same connection, but it's the same sort of like, how did they think that was going to play type of thing?
Antagonist who was previously an antagonist, who was previously a protagonist, who was previously an antagonist, smirks. And this is where things get shockingly stupid. Anakin's turn to the dark side in Revenge of the Sith was downright arduous compared to this. Diverse non-binary antagonist who was formerly a protagonist force chokes a Jedi with.
But remember, Gary, this isn't the dark side. He's there because there's no good or bad. It's just about power and dynamics. So all she's doing is killing this oppressor, this horrible, in this case, actually corrupt. Well, maybe not him. Corrupt Jedi. Yeah, she's the hero because the Jedi are oppressors and it's all about power dynamics. Where have you heard that before?
With no training, bleeds on her kyber crystal, which turns her lightsaber red.
Disney Star Wars canon, before red just meant synthetic crystal, and now it means the bleeding where you put all your negative emotions, blah, blah, blah. Insert like, well, why didn't Anakin's turn red? Well, as we've explained, that's a plot hole that they had to fix with a bunch of comics that no one read.
Red. That's red.
Vader.
Girls get it done.
Ah, he Vadered. He Vadered.
Sorry, shut up, Grace. I did that myself.
That not so anticipated reveal of who is Smilo Ren's master.
All
well,
called
we
it,
find
yeah.
out it's Jedi Master Nepo in a basic line of dialogue.
You're alive.
And I can hear you now, dear viewer. They're obviously setting up a confrontation between Smilo Ren, the twins, Jedi Master Nepo, and our Jedi Corps of cosplayers, and Darth Plagueis. And Plagueis killing everyone because that's the only way you can justify the Jedi
awesome,
not knowing about the Sith, and lesbian space witches who use the Force to conceive twins without a father. You sweet summer children, there you go again trying to make sense. Nope, Smilo Ren runs away with the twins. And instead of doubling his pleasure, the idiot mind wipes May and sends her back to
pulls a Revan on him. But remember, just like Revan, we'll see how long this lasts.
To the Jedi. No confrontation, no Darth Plagueis. The Acolyte ends with a series of meetings, and we find out who the true villain is. I mean, besides Kathleen Kennedy and former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland. No, it's her wife, Jedi Master.
Oh, and we mentioned that May doesn't have any memories except for her child. Like removed all her memories except for when she's a kid. So she's essentially an 8-year-old in an adult woman's body. And yeah, insert the joke about Disney there too.
Nepo, who not only covers up the existence of the twins and her former Padawan has gone to the Sith, Jedi Master Nepo covers up the previous Jedi cover-up by framing Sol as the murderer of all the Jedi with this line, which also expresses exactly how Disney feels about George Lucas's Star Wars.
Oh, this is a terrible tragedy. It was the work of one flawed man.
Yeah.
And this show is the work of one flawed woman. When in doubt, blame the man who did nothing wrong. This is the point where Disney Analytics dictates there needs to be another pointless cameo.
Sorry to disturb you, Master. We need to talk.
And as I pointed out on Open Bar, well, one, they used the Last Jedi one, right? And Star Wars Theory noticed that. Also, this is a lose-lose, because if she lies to him, well, he's a sucker for not feeling the deception. He's dumb for not feeling the deaths of those Jedi. Sidious isn't in control yet. The dark side's not super powerful and clouding. There's no war. He should have sensed all of that. If she tells him the truth, oh, well, then he's corrupt and he covered everything up and he's Yoda's evil and complicit. And they knew something was amiss for even longer. Shouldn't have been surprised at all that there was a Sith out there.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
So what's Jedi Master Nepo going to say here? Yeah, Master Yoda, there was this coven of lesbian space witches who conceived twins without a father that died mysteriously at the hands of some Jedi who covered it up. And then those Jedi were murdered along with a dozen others, directly or indirectly at the hands of my former Padawan. And I framed an innocent man for some of those murders. Or is she just going to ask for some vacation time to take care of the one loose end? Whack Basil. And this scenario creates a lot of questions. Is Yoda complicit? Does he know about these cover-ups? And does he know about the Sith, and has he been lying? Or is he a clueless idiot that leads to 50 more questions? And then I remembered,
I don't care.
I could go on, but I won't. The Acolyte is the worst Star Wars ever made, the worst Disney Star Wars ever made, and it's everything Kathleen Kennedy wanted, replacing heroism and masculinity with moral relativism, replacing talent with activists, and big shocker, it doesn't work. So ends the derivative fanfic forces female fever dream. The Acolyte is over, and so is Disney Star Wars, but inexplicably, they don't know it yet.
Nerdrotic.com.
Make sure to like and subscribe to Gary. They systematically, starting with Luke, have killed every single hero that we grew up with, more or less, and they've tried to replace them with their heroes. But the problem is their heroes are actually villains. And most people with any bit of sense see that, which is why it's getting wholesale rejected. Be sure to like, share, and sub. If you have done that, thank you. If you're gonna do that, thank you. And may the fucking force be with you.
Well, bye.